Yeah, so I started at ESPN in its beginning and spent over 2 decades there doing a variety of jobs, but the last 12 years I was the chief executive officer of ESPN. In that time, ESPN became something greater than just a singular linear network. It became a multiple channel into the consumer's home. And our motto was to serve fans everywhere, and we did that, I think, extremely well by developing new products and new platforms to distribute our content. When I left there in the early 2000s, I left there and I went to work with the NFL, and we started the NFL Network, and we did a lot of their media and
I know, I tried to buy some stuff from you. You wouldn't let me.
We tried to sell it to you occasionally, but having said all that, we did take a lot of our own assets in-house, and were able to have, for the first time ever, as a league, a direct relationship with the consumer. And that was that served them very well. And I see a lot of parallels between my experiences at ESPN and the NFL with Genius Sports. Most prominently being the fact that when ESPN became successful was directly related to when they first acquired the NFL in 1987. And I see a very similar opportunity here at Genius Sports.
So I'm kind of unique in my career. I don't think a lot of people spent 33 years at one company, but I did at Turner Broadcasting. Came there in '87, hired by Ted Turner, and he figured out that buying the Braves and buying the Hawks were ways to get content on the air, lots of hours of programming, and he knows that people love sports. I came up through the ad sales side of the business, ran international from 1994 through 2002, 2003, came back to run Turner Sports, came back also to run distribution for our company. It was connected with the sports business. Bought a few different businesses while I was there as well. We ended up purchasing Bleacher Report because we needed a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week sports distribution channel in the digital space, because if you're going to be in the sports business, you just can't be in the television business. We bought an iStream Planet, which was a streaming service. In my last 6 years at Turner, where I was the president of Turner, running the networks, distribution, sales, marketing, and pretty much everything other than CNN's journalistic content business. Left in 2019 and worked with the Brooklyn Nets for a while as the CEO of the Brooklyn Nets, and now here at Genius. And in my years at Turner, I have to say, the last 4 years was really understanding that fan engagement and understanding that sports betting engages fans, which then increases ratings, which increases advertising dollars, also helps our distribution business. So we got very involved starting BR Bets, Bleacher Report Bets. We did deals with Caesars, and we were early on in developing a little business called The Match, with Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods, which was the first, I'd say, integration in the television business, where we were focused specifically on betting in the telecast back in 2018 around golf.
Well, when we were at ESPN, we looked at you as our number one competitor, quite frankly.
Well, it was good. It was mutual. It was mutual. The good thing is all tides lift all ships, right? The rising tides lift all ships. And we were probably the two leading cable businesses in the sports business.
Yeah, I say that now. Back then, it was more competitive and cutthroat. But yeah, I think it did help rise all ships.
Yeah.
I mean, at ESPN, as I mentioned, we said serving fans everywhere, and that was a nod to mobility and transportation and multiple platforms. But today, it's all about consumption of content and how you consume that content and where you consume that content and how engaged you are when you consume that content, to me, are the three most critical questions that need to be answered and, as a content provider, need to be served. I see us as being a way to help content IP owners deliver that experience to the consumer. And to me, the consumer will only appreciate the fact that it's a personal feed for them, and that it's something that's important to them and has meaning to them, as opposed to, let's sit down and watch an entertainment with our family. Those days are gone.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, when we ended up, one of the main negotiation tactics that we used when we got the NCAA tournament with CBS is we told them that at the time CBS was showing all the games but doing regionals. And we came with an idea that we said, listen, we're going to produce all the games all the time and actually compete against each other. So we had the games running on 4 different networks: TBS, TNT, TruTV, and CBS. And the idea was to give the fan the opportunity to choose what games they wanted to watch, access to games that normally they wouldn't get, right? And then with TNT on the basketball, we ended up doing a matrix of 4 different cameras on the digital side. We couldn't do it because of our cable contracts. We had to show the game the way the game normally would be seen. But on the distribution of digital side, we actually had a Kobe camera, and we had a camera on the bench, and we had different types of cameras. And I think the future of where Genius is going to connect to all this is, there are times where you don't even want to watch certain parts of the games. You may be, let's say, I'm going to use golf for example. Let's say Sergio Garcia is not even in the golf tournament, but he's still playing on Sunday. You'll never see Sergio, right, in a normal telecast. But if you have a bet, or you've put something that he's going to have 4 birdies today, you're going to want to see that. And so there's an opportunity to put a camera on almost every golfer and let the audience, let the fan decide what they want to watch. And I think that's where the future, really where this content business is going.
Well, you also did something else back then that seems silly today, but you actually promoted other channels.
Oh, yeah, with the NCAA.
Competition,
Yeah.
with the NCAA, and you cut. And you see that today, and
Yeah.
that's a legacy, a direct legacy of what you guys
Yeah,
did.
Sean
It's
and
again,
I-
serving fans with the content they want, where they want it, and how they want it.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's really where Genius is coming into play.
100%.
Where you're going to customize your feed for what you want to see, when you want to see.
When you want to see it, who you want to see, where you want to see, and really what you may want to bet on, right? I mean, ultimately, Genius is going to supply products and services that I think is going to increase the fan engagement, and that's why I came here, because I actually believe that I think either sports books and media companies are going to merge in some way, shape, or form, or have very, very close relationships with the content. So, in running Turner, you're not going to believe these kind of numbers, but all of our people really thought we were really deep and wide in the sports business, but in actuality, it was only 4% of our content, but it represented 25% of our revenues. So it was a very, very key attribute in our whole portfolio. And within that, because Turner wasn't ESPN, we had to have premium sports content. So we had the NBA playoffs. We had the NCAA March Madness tournament. We didn't have regular golf, we had majors. At one point we had the British Open, at one point we had the PGA Championship, because we needed destination programming to lift all of our programming, right? And because we weren't a sports channel, it was easy for ESPN to have people, what I call collision viewing, where they just turn on the TV set and they know if they go to ESPN, they're going to get sports. That wasn't the same at Turner. There wasn't that collision
It was
viewing.
also a way to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
As a way to let the public know that not only is, Turner an entertainment destination, but it was also a sports destination.
It also gave us more
And it's
reach.
the same thing that Genius can use.
Yes.
I mean, the NFL is going to be, yes, the most important, entertainment.
But everything else
product.
falls underneath it.
But you get them into our store and you get to see what else.
Yeah, and by the way,
available.
there are a lot of fans that love ping pong or they love other sports. It doesn't have to be as big as the NFL, but the NFL, the NFL rises the whole, rising tide lifts everything.
NFL brings them into the house.
100%.
To me, it's not. We're not solving for it. We're part of the process that people are using for bigger engagement. I mean, when you watch the NFL, it is a multiple screen experience. We learned that when we launched the Red Zone channel at NFL. Was all of a sudden, Sunday afternoon carriers saw a rising of their ratings because more people were consumed with the games. As people gamble, as people consume, as people gamify the content, their interest level, engagement level only increases astronomically. And by providing those services, you're increasing the content and you're increasing the engagement.
Yeah, and I'll go back to your comment earlier, because you have to personalize this. What's personalized for an 18-year-old is going to be very different than a 50-year-old. What that 18-year-old wants, we're going to have to provide, the network's going to have to provide, Genius is going to have to find products for that, as they're going to have to find products for an older generation. All right, and that's why personalization and augmentation and visualization, all those key terms are going to be important as you personalize the content. And that's what's happened right now. I mean, the 18 to 34-year-old male is completely leaving the linear channels. They're almost not on the channels anymore, no matter how big your programming is and so forth. You're finding it in different places. And you're finding it in different ways as well. Whether you're finding it on social, whether you're finding it on Twitter, whether you're finding it on Facebook, you're finding this content where you want it and how you want it.
It's a necessity for consumption. Otherwise, they're not going to consume the content.
Right. So you have to fish where the fish are. And you know what? They're not in the same. They used to be in one place. They're everywhere. I don't think there's a business that I can think of that data isn't important. It's actually essential to all businesses. We at Turner, we're using data for our target marketing for our advertisers to make sure we found the car, someone was looking to buy car insurance or looking to buy an automotive or going to travel. You can get this data through all different mechanisms, whether it's credit card information or whether it's set-top box data, all these different avenues to collect it, and you collect your own first-party data as well, right? And you add that to the mix. But as Genius, collects this data and goes after the data for all different teams, as well as their league rights with the advertising content, that's only going to help sports books get referrals, more pizzas being sold, more insurance being sold, and of course, the data allows for all the different types of personalization of the game, gamifying the game that you're watching.
Yeah, to me, it's the nexus of content and gamification, and I think the first application will be in sports. I don't think it's going to be limited to sports. I think all content will be gamified.
Academy Awards.
Absolutely, but we're at the cutting edge, and what we're doing is we're writing the protocols for how people are going to engage with content going forward, and I don't see anything on the horizon that is more important, and I see nothing that was going to stop this. I mean, data is clearly part of how you make that gamification work and how you make that engagement level increase. But that's what we're starting to measure now. It's billions of minutes engaged. Right. It's not.
But there's some people that don't want that kind of information, and there'll be a product, a television production.
Yeah, but they're all dying.
Right,
I mean,
right. No, but there'll be that still production, and then there are people that want to get more betting and more information and more gamification. They'll get that opportunity. I think there's going to be a variety of screens that people are going to be able to choose how they want to watch that content.
I totally agree.
Right, and so, not everything is going to be about betting, because by the way, not everybody bets, right? But it doesn't mean they're going to want to have different opportunities and different screens to watch their content. Listen, I think we are at the cusp. That's what brought me here. I said earlier that, if you're engaged, there are higher ratings. If there are higher ratings, right, you're going to get more media rights. If the more media rights come in, your franchise values go up. If franchise values go up, league rights go up. I mean, it's just an opportunity, all from engagement and people watching.
And I'll go back to what you said. Gamification is not just gambling. Gamification is engagement.
Right.
The NFL is and has proven, not countless times, but dozens of times, it is the most important, premier, platinum standard content in the United States, in North America. It launched DirecTV. It launched ESPN. It launched the Fox Network. It launched TNT. It launched Genius. It launched anything it touches, because it's so critical and so important to the fabric of our daily consumption that there is no second place.
I don't disagree. I tried to get, we lost it in '96, and we were trying to get the NFL back on Turner.
But it's a network maker and breaker. It's a platform maker. And
destination programming.
And I look at that, our ability to acquire those rights last year, as is critical to the success
100%.
of Genius going forward, as those examples I just gave you.
100%. And I would say this also, I actually believe, and I saw it this weekend with my friend and his friends, they were watching games that honestly were typically blowout games.
They were.
And they were engaged because they had certain bets, because in-game betting is going to keep these games alive. That normally if someone would flip the channel or change off to go to their social channels or do something differently, They were engaged and watching it and cheering. And it made it, I think that's going to be where I think the flip is going to happen is I think there's going to be a lot more, what I would say, in-game betting. Now, also what Genius does really well and what they're doing right now with the NFL is expanding it outside the United States. Because, you know, it is growing. You know, the world's getting smaller. And Genius is now entering into Latin America and places in Europe they haven't been before with the NFL. And I think that's one of the reasons why the NFL actually worked with Genius is because of the dominance that Genius has in the European market and around the world.
I think that's right. I think that your point's well taken. It's not like any of this is new. We're just making it easier and more fun to engage on this level.
Right. Which then brings in new viewers and new fans, right? With the NFL, every league looks for one thing. How do I generate the next how do I create the next generation of fans? And this is one of the ways, not the only way, but one of the ways to do so.